When black people wake up and become intellectually independent enough to think for themselves, as other humans are intellectually independent enough to think for themselves.
Hi lovelies, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, you're welcome to Building the Verse. Don't forget to please subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications so that anytime I upload a video, you will be the first person to be notified. To my returning subscribers, to those people that share my videos, leave commentaries, and also educate each and every one of us, you guys are the real MVP. Alright lovelies, let's dive into today's video.
Then the black man will think like a black man, and he will feel for other black people. And this new thinking and feeling will cause black people to stick together. And then at that point, you'll have a situation where when you attack one black man, you are attacking all black men. And this type of black thinking will cause all black people to stick together. And this type of thinking also will bring an end to the brutality inflicted upon black people by white people. And it is the only thing that will bring an end to it. No federal court, state court, or city court will bring an end to it. It's something that the black man has to bring an end to himself.
Yeah, but the question is more, how do you get there? Do you get there by confrontation, violence?
Oh, is that the question you were asking?
Yeah.
See, that's another thing. When you talk about a revolution, most people think violence, without realizing that the real content of any kind of revolutionary thrust lies in the principles and the goals that you're striving for, not in the way you reach them. On the other hand, because of the way this society is organized, because of the violence that exists on the surface everywhere, you have to expect that there are going to be such explosions. You have to expect things like that as reactions. If you are a black person and live in the black community all your life and walk out on the street every day seeing white policemen surrounding you, when I was living in Los Angeles, for instance, long before the situation in LA ever occurred, I was constantly stopped. No, the police didn't know who I was, but I was a black woman. And I had a natural, and they, I suppose, thought that I might be a, quote, militant. And when you live under a situation like that constantly, and then you ask me, you know, whether I approve of violence. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense at all. Whether I approve of guns. I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama. Some very, very good friends of mine were killed by bombs that were planted by racists. I remember from the time I was very small, I remember the sounds of bombs exploding across the street, our house shaking. I remember my father having to have guns at his disposal at all times because of the fact that at any moment we might expect to be attacked. The man who was at that time in complete control of the city government, his name was Bull Connor, would often get on the radio and make statements like, niggers have moved into a white neighborhood, we better expect some bloodshed tonight. And sure enough, there would be bloodshed. In my neighborhood, all of the men organized themselves into an armed patrol. They had to take their guns and patrol our community every night because they did not want that to happen again. I mean, that's why when someone asks me about violence, I just find it incredible. Because what it means is that the person who's asking that question has absolutely no idea what black people have gone through, what black people have experienced in this country since the time the first black person was kidnapped from the shores of Africa.
Our problem has been, as black people, we've always been concerned about white America, never about us. And what we've always thought is that white America equal the same interest as us. That is not true. We must now be concerned with us. Let me give you some examples. We always want to prove what good Americans we are. The very first man to die for the War of Independence in this country was a black man named Crispus Attucks. Crispus Attucks. He was a fool. Because here he was dying for white folk freedom, and millions of his brothers were enslaved in the very country.
Let us move on to our next questioner at the microphone over there. Mr. Edelman.
Welcome to America, Mr. Mandela. I'm Ken Edelman. Those of us who share your struggle for human rights and against apartheid have been somewhat disappointed by the models of human rights that you have held up since being released in jail. You've met over the last 6 months 3 times with Yasser Arafat, who you have praised. You have told Gaddafi that you share the view on, and applaud him on his record of human rights and his drive for freedom and peace around the world. And you have praised Fidel Castro as a leader of human rights and said that Cuba was one of the countries that's head and shoulders above all other countries in human rights, despite the fact that documents at the United Nations and elsewhere show that Cuba is one of the worst. I was just wondering, are these your models of leaders of human rights? And if so, would you want a Gaddafi or an Arafat or a Castro to be a future president of South Africa?
One of the mistakes which some political analysts make is to think that their enemies should be our enemies.
I genuinely believe that slavery was a contract that white people needed to fulfill. A contract with some deity, I don't know, but this contract required black bodies. And that is exactly what it got. And those black bodies were provided in exchange for riches and privilege. It was a 400+ year contract that is running out. And so what needs to happen now? They need to take the country back to where it was before, to renew that contract. This country is genuinely sinister. And if you don't see it now, you never will. Now, I don't know the terms of the contract, but somewhere in that contract, there is a clause about black and brown bodies. And don't come in here getting all serious. This is just me trying to make sense of the world. No, but there is a contract. There is a contract. The contract was fulfilled when they brought black bodies to this country. The contract was fulfilled when they participated in the violent removal of Native Americans. The contract was fulfilled when they committed acts of violence against the enslaved and against black and brown people in this country. And the contract is running out, and they're panicking. And they need to take us back. The defunding of PBS to replace with PragerU. The dismantling of museums and historical artifacts. The banning of books. And the deletion of historical documents. Put down your Bibles and pick up a spell book. Because somewhere in that contract, I'm sure of it, included the removal of spiritual practices and replacing them with the Bible. The Bible is what's anchoring us to our own demise.
Sisters, let me tell you something. If someone attacks your person, your livelihood, your people, your kids, your kind, your way of life, you respond in kind. It's time out for that fucking decorum and grace. We ain't giving nobody no grace that don't give us any. Turn the other cheek, my ass. You know what that gets you? Slapped on both sides of your face. We're not doing it. And I'm saying that because around all this discourse, there's a black woman that told old girl the fuck off. Said that she was suckling from the oppressor. And now there's some people out here that say this black woman went too far. I don't think so. If you're going to attack my blackness, you gonna say all of this shit and you don't give a fuck how it hits my black fam ears, then I'm going to respond in kind. And you all know how I feel about biracial people. If you're with us, you're fucking with us. And I will fucking cover you. You understand that you have been gifted blackness. And you treasure it like I treasure it. We your people, you mine. But what you're not gonna do is come into black spaces with that my mama is white fucking energy, offend black voices, black people, and then think you're fixing to get black cover. No, the fuck you are not. You want to move like a white woman? Move your ass over there with them white women. And you leave our black asses alone. If you come for our blackness while we are watching you benefit from your blue eyes and your blonde fucking hair, and you think you fixing to talk cash shit, yeah, girl, you can get this fucking smoke. Sister, she didn't go too far. She matched energy. And we gonna do that shit all year long. You're not gonna slap me on both sides of my goddamn face. Return that fucking energy. My sisters, let me tell you something. If someone attacks your person, your livelihood, your people, your kids, your kind, your way of life, you...
All right, let's talk about this contract. Yeah, the contract, because that is what slavery was. A contract, a deal, a bargain between white supremacy and whatever senatorial force they've been in covenant with since the first ship left those European ports. They needed black bodies and the contract required it. That is why millions of us were stolen, trafficked, brutalized and reduced to property. Because the contract demanded flesh, it demanded labor, it demanded spirits. And make no mistake about it, this wasn't just about free labor. This wasn't just about economics. This was about power, about domination, about ritual. Every whip crack, every auction block, every forced conversation to Christianity, it wasn't just cruelty. It was contractual. They were feeding the terms of that deal, and for 400 plus years, they have been paying their dues in our suffering. Now, listen. That contract is running out, and you can see it, you can feel it. They are panicking. Look around, you see book bans, you see them guilty BS and replacing it with propaganda like Parague. You see them erasing museum, deleting archive, dismantling black studies, erasing indigenous history. Why? Because the contract is expiring and they are desperate to renew it. They can't let the truth breathe. They can't let the record stand. If the spell breaks, if the people wake up, then that contract loses all its power. And I will tell you this. Part of that contract was the Bible. Don't clutch your pearls. Don't act brand new. That book was used as an anchor, as a teeter, as a chain. They stripped away the African spiritual systems, the ancestral practice, the root work, the divination, the ways we spoke to God ourselves, and they gave us the Bible. They gave us one book, one God, one narrow path, and they weaponized it. That is why we can't talk about the liberation without talking about spirituality, because spiritual dismantlement was in the fine print. Now let's me pivot, because this hasn't just theory. This hasn't just history. This is right now. If someone attacks your person, your livelihood, your people, your kids, your kind, your way of life, you respond in kind. Stop with the grace. Stop with the turning of the cheek. Stop with the black respectability politics that tells us to sit quiet, smile, and let flaws speak on us. What did that ever get us? Nothing but both sides of the face slapped raw. So when a black woman tells a little biracial girl fuck off, I don't see that as cruelty, I see that as an energy return. Because if you walk into the black spaces with white fragility energy, if you center whiteness while wearing black skin, if you disrespect blackness while benefiting from proximity to whiteness, you don't get black cover, you don't get protection, you don't get to play both sides. Here's the thing. I don't hate biracial people. If you're with us, you are with us. If you embrace your blackness, I will cover you. I will protect you. I will ride with you. Because blackness is not a curse, it's a gift, it's a shield. But if you walk into this space with my mama is white energy, minimizing black pain, dismissing black truth, uplifting whiteness, you can get this smoke, all of it. Because what you are not going to do is play black when it benefits you and play white when it protects you. That is betrayal. And we're gonna stop calling it going too far. No, she matches energy. She gave back what she got, and that is exactly what we need to be on this next year. Next year, every year, match energy. If they ban books, we archive them underground. If they erase history, we tattoo it on our tongues and teach our children at the dinner table. If they bring violence, we bring defense. If they try to spiritually blind us, we break chains and pick up spare books. You see, part of why they have been able to dominate is because they understand power in a ways we have been taught to fear: ritual, repetition, covenant. That is why every courthouse got a Bible. That is why every president ends speeches with "God bless America." That is spiritual. That is ritual. That is incantation. That is power. Meanwhile, we laugh at our own grandmothers burning sage, or we call our own ancestors witchcraft. No, that is liberation. That is memory. That is survival. And here's the sinister part. The contract was never just written in paper, it was written in blood. The trail of tears, the middle passage, the slave patrols, the launching, the prisons, all clauses in the same agreement. And you wonder why they cling to guns, why they cling to white Jesus, why they cling to power like oxygen, because without us suffering, without us carrying that weight, they don't know how to live. Now, I know somebody listening going to say, "Oh, you sound extreme. You sound radical." Good, because hasn't nothing moderate about survival, hasn't nothing polite about fighting for your children's future. You want to talk radical? Radical was dragging millions of people across an ocean. Radical was caving out Africa like a pie. Radical was bombing Tusa. Radical is banning books about Ruby Bridges, a 6-year-old little girl who had to be escorted into school by US Marshals because white adults wanted to kill her. And we're supposed to become grateful, forgiven. No, those days are over. So here's the challenge I'm laying out. Start returning energy. Stop waiting for permission. Stop looking for allies who only show up when it's safe. If somebody comes for you, come back harder. If somebody comes for your keys, your people, your way of life, you respond in kind, because black grace has been weaponized against us. It's been used as a leash, no more. The contract is ending. And what comes next, that is up to us. Do not let them renew it. Do we let them rewrite it in the blood of another generation, or do we tear it up, burn it down, and write our own covenant with ourselves, with our ancestors, with our future? You decide.
And if you have watched up to this extent, thank you so much for all the love and support. Don't forget to please leave me your own thought in the comment section of what you think of this video. And please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying and harassment. Alright, lovely. See you when I upload the next video.